I rise in strong support of Senate Bill 982, and as a sponsor of this much-needed legislation, along with my friend and colleague, the gentlelady from Luzerne County, this bill is critical to protecting the integrity of our election process. And let me be crystal clear, our election process must be beyond reproach. As my colleague so articulately stated, outside funding from third parties is a new phenomenon in our election process. We are not talking about funding candidates or funding campaigns or other partisan interests. We are talking about the actual administration of our elections, and that is a significant difference. In a recent election, we watched an outside group fund a core function of government. It is an extremely troubling fact that an outside group can contribute $22.5 million to fund election operations in our state and in only certain counties. The Senate state government held 2 hearings over the last week on the matter, and to their credit, the Department of State said this funding was open to any county. But email correspondence shows staff within the administration initially reached out to a few select counties to inform their election officials about this funding. So it was made known later to all of the counties, and we saw the hand on the scale early in the process. And again, this is not a hand on the scale for a candidate or a campaign. This is a hand on the scale by the referees for the referees, and that's just plain wrong. To make matters worse, we still do not know the origin of these funds. The founder and CEO of Facebook and his spouse are obviously the high-profile donors to the entity that contributed to the administration of our elections process. However, that organization has more than just 2 donors. And we do not know who those people are that are contributing to the actual administration of our elections. The founder and CEO of Facebook is obviously just one individual, but this third-party entity existed before one of the wealthiest individuals in our country gave $350 million to this nonprofit. There was no guidance for the use of these funds from the Department of State. Our election system, it is meant to serve as an objective referee of sorts. Yet that very system was taking in money from an outside group with partisan leanings. If we allow this new practice to continue, the very bedrock of our republic, our election process, could be open to receiving donations. I read reports this morning of other groups with nice-sounding names, but when you do some digging into their advocacy efforts, there are clear partisan leanings. I don't care if it's the left this year and the right next year, or vice versa. Every voter, regardless of partisan affiliation, should have full faith that the system that they use to cast their vote is purely objective and not open to outside partisan influence. And we can have many debates in this chamber about what are the core functions of state government, but I would be hard-pressed to find one individual in this chamber or the one across the rotunda in either party who will say that funding our election is not a core function of our government. And finally, I appreciate the dialogue that we have had with our friends and colleagues on the other side of the aisle about coming up with a way to move forward to fund our election process. And specifically, I want to give credit to the good gentleman from Philadelphia County, the Democratic chair of our Senate State Government Committee, for his willingness to engage on this matter. And I remain hopeful that after today, those conversations continue and that we establish uniform parameters across our state, that the letter of the law with regard to our elections is followed, because we have an obligation to every voter in every county, in every precinct, to guarantee that through the Constitution, their right to free and fair elections are upheld. Let's reaffirm that right to every Pennsylvanian by saying yes to Senate Bill 982 and saying no to partisan third-party money flowing into our election operations. Thank you, Mr. President.